Good morning, good people. Good morning. Welcome. It is Thursday, October 27th, 2022, and we are here with the virtual symposium, Nightmares from Monkeypaw. We're celebrating the works of a great, phenomenal filmmaker, probably one of the best storytellers of our current time, Mr. Jordan Peele. And we're also going to amplify the amazing work that comes out of Black horror films. This morning, we are kicking off our virtual symposium with two amazing women who are going to share such interesting and engaging content and information with you to launch our virtual symposium. My name is Terésa Dowell-Vest. I am the Director of Film and Television Production here at Prairie View A&M University. We are in the middle of our homecoming week. It's homecoming here at PV, and so I'm rocking my purple and gold like we do here on the Hill. I'm in the control booth of our TV studio, and throughout the day, you're going to see firsthand our brand new state-of-the-art TV studio here at Prairie View, KPVU TV. Without further ado, though, I would like to bring up an amazing person who serves as the board of directors for the University Film and Video Association, for which I am a member, a board member. And when I say that there are very few organizations that really amplify the importance of arts education, in particular in film and television, UFVA just stands above all the rest in terms of amplifying what we do in the classroom in terms of arts education. So our board president is on standby. I'm going to bring her up, Wenhwa Ts'ao. Hey, Wenhwa.
Hi, TD. Thank you so much for having me here.
Of course, of course. How you feeling this morning?
Very good, and thank you for the fantastic introduction about
Of
the
course.
University Film and Video Association.
Yeah, no doubt. Now you're in Chicago right now, yeah?
Yes, I'm in Chicago. I am
Weather's
a
changing.
faculty member at Columbia College Chicago. I teach in the Cinema and Television Arts Department, Columbia College Chicago.
Nice, nice. I was going to read Wenhwa's bio, but I mean, she just cut to the quick and was like,
I'm so sorry.
No. Hey, I love it. I love it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn things over to Wenhwa, where Wenhwa is going to actually share with you more information about the University Film and Video Association. I'm going to slip into the background and turn it over to Wenhwa. It's all yours.
That's great. Thank you so much. And would you mind put up the first slide for me? Thank you so much. Again, I had a privilege to serve on this nonprofit organization, University Film and Video Association. Everybody supported organization are all volunteer, and that's how I meet and met the amazing TD in this organization. TD's currently served as a board member. She's just has an incredible amount of energy and ability to pull this together. So I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to come up to talk to you all about University Film and Video Association. We will abbreviate it at this point on called UFVA. So I wanted to share a couple of the things we do. One of the things that we put in the forefront is that we are educators. We create this community. We are here for the creatives. The membership are teachers, students, scholars, researchers, archivists, distributors, librarians, manufacturer, and all different college departments and university departments. Can you go to the next slide? All right, the members enjoy these benefits, but one of the things that what I really love about UFVA is the community. The community is what brought me, nurtured me since 1995. I was a member, and I've been participated in the annual conference, and whenever I can help, I will volunteer to do different different little tasks for the organization. And I also served as a board member like TD, and then served as a conference VP. And then now I'm serving as a president of the organization. Let's go on to the next slide. And these are different things we do, and I would like to share with you on our website that probably be more interesting than just watching me talk about it. So, and since this is my first streaming experience, please forgive me if there's any clunkiness and slowness. So I'm going to share my screen, I guess, entire screen. I hope I'm sharing. Please let me know. Am I sharing, TD?
It's still the slideshow, but that's okay.
Okay.
I think if people go to UFVA
.org. Yeah.
.org, and I'll put the link up on the screen here, and
Sure.
yeah, you got it.
Okay. All right, then I'll just talk about it. So UFVA have an annual conference, and for the annual conference, we will ask our members to submit either their films, scholarly paper, and or create a panel. They can submit their script, either feature-length script or short script, and or their new media work, and they can even propose workshops. And the most recently, we created a new category, and I guess that's how I get to really know TD. She won awards in this new tech category. It's called Multicam Live category. So she has submitted work and have won awards in that category. So all these different creative work are being submitted into and peer reviewed into the conference. So in the past couple of conferences, we have over 500 attendees and 130 sessions, and we give out awards for participants. Beyond the faculty and faculty part-time or full-time faculty submitting, scholars submitting to the various events, we also have category for the students to submit and getting feedback opportunity. And in the organization, I also want to talk about student opportunity like scholarship and grants. We also provide opportunity for students to apply to attend a conference for with the support. And we'll pay for the conference. Students, graduate student can apply for the conference coverage expenses, and then participating in the conference. Because eventually these graduate students become teachers and they become full-time, full members as a faculty members. And then we also have another grant opportunity, which is one many students benefit from. It's it's called Carol Fielding Student Grant. It's actually a production grant, also a research grant. So student in narrative filmmaking, documentary filmmaking, experimental filmmaking, animation, new media, and any research categories can apply. Then this is an organization really focused on equity, diversity, and inclusion, especially teaching media. And tomorrow, TD actually programmed a very exciting program that will showcase our membership who has spin off, created a site called Edit Media that's promoting inclusive teaching. And that's one thing we're really, really proud of. And then we also have support with faculty members who has been teaching, senior faculty member who is teaching for a while, or newer tenure track, or professor or associate professor practice can apply. Both part-time and full-time faculty member can apply for teaching awards. In that, we promote the excellence in teaching, inclusive teaching, and also the best practice in teaching. And then the organization also support faculty member with grant. And this is brand new grant. It just started last year. We support both research faculty member with research projects as well as production projects. Then the organization also have a very prestigious journal. So scholarly articles can be submitted there for vetting and to be published. And last, we also serve our members with career posting for free because we want our members to be able to get into to see these job opportunities. So these are constantly being updated as soon as the organization sent, or university or colleges sent us any job update, we will get to post that online for our members to view. And one more thing that we do is that we form quite a bit of a caucus group. And in these groups that it's pretty much membership driven, and they can, if anybody inspired to do any group, they can propose and usually come to the board. And generally we vet the mission of the group and we will say yes. So currently we have many caucus, and they usually meet a couple times a year, and then they will have an annual meeting right before the conference. We have animation caucus, diversity and inclusion caucus, documentary working group, a lot of great work come out of that, entertainment industry caucus, environmental caucus, freedom of expression caucus, which recently we have published the support of freedom of expression update statement, gender caucus, graduate student caucus, history and theory caucus, new media caucus, script caucus, and also festival and distribution caucus. So I guess the one more thing I want to say about UFVA is that it's an important organization for me because the way the organization approaches teaching and supportive of our faculty member, and also even both part-time and full-time faculty member and students, and how we approach the best practice in teaching. And I guess we can go to the last slide. I hope I didn't use too much of the time. This is one way you can get in touch with me, or you can go to UFVA.org, UFVA.org. I should have put a link there. Oh, thank you so much. This is amazing streaming right there. I see the website. And take a look at our amazing organization. And because of this organization, I get to meet somebody like TD. And that's one thing why I value this experience so much, because the amazing human beings that I get to meet in this in these community. Thank you so much.
Wenhwa she's just phenomenal. I have to tell you, I originally met Wenhwa 2 years ago, actually, at the first national conference I attended. Just to give you some kind of, a little bit of background about how I ended up with the University Film and Video Association, and why we've come to actually present this this amazing event. I have to change up the background. I'm going to do purple right now. It's homecoming at Prairie View. I found out about the University Film and Video Association because of the pandemic. 2020 made it really difficult for, us as practitioners of film and television production, educators in film and television production. It was incredibly difficult to be able to teach our students how to use state-of-the-art equipment, be in the TV studio, be in contact with each other, and yet social distance. And how do you teach new technology virtually? And so I reached out to folks. We had a brainstorming session. How do we teach virtually? How do we teach hybrid? How do we teach face-to-face safely in, within production? And I met some amazing people in trying to find some answers. And I'll have to say, Jennifer Proctor, who you will meet tomorrow as a part of Edit Media, she said, hey, you should really look into the University Film and Video Association. And I was like, why? I had not heard of it. And I was just like, I'm fine kind of going the way I'm going. She was like, you're looking for answers. We're looking for answers. The pandemic has made everything, it's turned everything upside down. And so I looked into the University Film and Video Association, and I was just short of tears because I was like, where have you been my whole life? Hundreds of educators, thousands of new ideas, people who collaborate. And instantly I just dove head in, and then put myself in a position to join the board. And it's one of those decisions I have not regretted, because I'm networking with people like Wenhwa. We come up with solutions for our students. We come up with resources that help our various programs. And as a result, the previous board president, Christina Lane, as well as Wenhwa, collectively said, what would you like to do to amplify what we have to offer as an association, and with universities that and people like yourself who do not know about the University Film and Video Association and the resources that are available. I tell my students all the time, this organization has grants available. You could be producing short films with the assistance of this organization. And then I looked around, and I'm going to tell you the truth of it. I looked around to my left and to my right, and besides me and one other person on the board, and Wenhwa as an additional person of color, I thought, there are not enough of us here. And representing an HBCU, Prairie View A&M University is a 1890 land grant university here in the state of Texas. We are doing important work, and we're working with students who are changing the world. And I wanted more HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, and predominantly Black institutions, PBIs, to know more about this association and gain access and benefit from the resources. And so I figured, let's have a party. Let's celebrate one of the best filmmakers in the game right now, who happens to be a Black man, who champions HBCUs. And so this virtual symposium is on brand. It is aligned with the missions of Monkeypaw, and telling the stories of people who are typically under-amplified. And through the work of the University Film and Video Association and all the board members who contributed to this particular symposium, my hat off, my heart open, and I thank you so much. And Wenhwa, and particularly you, my friend, thank you for opening us up this morning and getting us started.
Can I just say something though? I felt that this is the perfect timing. Also, I feel very honored that you reach out and say that I want to program this. I want to participate in the board. I want to do volunteer work for UFVA, because we are very, very aware, the board member are very aware, constantly talking about how can we have more diverse membership. So looking forward to see perhaps different type of caucus will pop up from the member initiative, and to be even more inclusive and embracing people of multicultures and background into the fold.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Sure thing. We're going to move into our keynote portion of our program right now. On the screen, right there, you're going to see our logo change throughout the day. KPVU is bringing you this broadcast live on a variety of platforms. Our YouTube channel, the YouTube channel for the University Film and Video Association. You'll see their thumbnail up there on occasion as well. You will also see it on a variety of our individual personal platforms as well, because we want to amplify what's happening with the University Film and Video Association. But in particular, this initiative that we're starting, the University Film and Video Association partnering with HBCUs. One thing that I do here at Prairie View is I spent a lot of time producing a show called HBCU Today. It's a brand new show that we won some funding from the Propel Center out of Atlanta, who in partner with Apple and the Southern Company and Georgia Power has put some resources behind us to produce that show. And as we gain some of the stories, I'm actually sitting with one of our associate producers, a student here at PV. I'm going to embarrass her and have her pop her head in. Hey, Keyshawn. We're producing the show, and part of the initiative with the University Film and Video Association is amplifying all of our voices as best we can. And so throughout the symposium over the next 2 days, I'm going to give you more and more information about this new initiative. I'm not going to inundate you with it all at once because it'll make your head pop off your shoulders. You get excited and then you don't know what to do with yourself. You're going to try to give us all your money and all your time and all your support. And we don't necessarily want that just yet. We want you to sit back and relax and enjoy discussing horror movies and things that go bump in the night and scare you as we approach Halloween. The next person I'm going to bring up is a dear friend and someone I'm incredibly excited about sharing with you. It's Moshaty. I'm going to bring her up and then I'm going to read her bio, but let me bring her up first. Hey, sister.
Hi, Carol.
Okay. Isn't she gorgeous? Like, let me make her picture.
I'm under 18 pounds of makeup. It's fine. It's definitely a catfish morning, so it's not what I usually look like. Thank you.
Did you look like this all the time? Like that's your face?
Checks in the mail. I do not.
We do take donations. No.
Yes, we do. Things can hold. As long as it's
well, Mo, thank you so much for joining us today. I am going to take a moment to share with everyone your amazing bio. Mo Moshaty is an Afro-Latina screenwriter, author, and producer. Raised within the clash of her mother's Yaqui?
You can say Yaqui. Yep.
Yaqui.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Heritage and her father's strict Southern Baptist upbringing. Mo's work contains worlds in which characters of color strive for identity, sentiment, and belonging within the comedy, horror, and sci-fi genres. She is a co-producer of the, is it Next?
Next.
Yes. It's NYX. And I'm like, you using letters together that don't normally go together, but I love it because it's Next Horror Collective. Next Horror Collective. She's partnered with Ts'ao Story Labs, and they provide fellowships for women genre writers over 40. And she's partnered with horror streaming giant Shudder Channel to co-produce the 13-minute horror film festival in 2021 and 2022. This sister is bad, and she is my friend. Yay, and I love her fiercely. Hey, Mo, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm really excited to chat about this today. I mean, obviously, you know, Peele's work is very near and dear to my heart. I absolutely love everything that's going on with what he's been able to bring to us as a whole, as, you know, people of color who are horror fans. It's been really great. So I'm excited. I'm very, very excited about it. So I am, what's next?
Well, tell you what, let's wrap a bit before we get into your keynote.
Yeah.
Tell me of Jordan Peele's work. Which one pops out at, and I'm going to bring Wenhwa back up to, you know what, Wenhwa, I'm going to bring Wenhwa back up now.
Please
Let's wrap a bit about Jordan Peele's work before we get into your keynote. Tell us which of Jordan Peele's films jump out as your
Wow. Yeah. So I guess for me, I really love Get Out. It's pretty incredible. My 14-year-old daughter just can't speak enough about it. And she's talk about, it's so smart how you talk about racism, and in a way of, it's just part of it. It's just part of that universe, and how people think so different. And it came out in the right timing politically as well. To have that difficult conversation with my daughter about being Asian American in this country, and how the premise of the film, it's creating kind of cautionary tale for us as well. And I often talk to her about being careful about where you are, watch your environment. And this is sort of kind of actually help me as a parent to be able to dialogue about racism in a very different level. I hope I didn't cut Mo off.
No, I'm just like, yeah, totally. I can't really say enough about it. I mean, it's going to be hard pressed to pick one of my favorites. I mean, I'm also a cognitive behavioral therapist, so I work in trauma and PTSD recovery. So all of his films have a little bit to do with either it's generational trauma or it's emotional trauma throughout any of the films. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, the most poignant one for me is really, God, I'm going to have to say either Get Out or most recently Nope. And for two reasons. For Get Out, just Get Out is terrifying. Yeah. And there's maybe like 2 drops of blood in it. And the reason why it is terrifying is because that isn't a fear that people of color live with every single day. And it seems like it could be absolutely so far-fetched that this is not going to happen. People don't do this. Could it? Who knows? Right. And that's what the fear is. And it's definitely a piece that I will elaborate on further when I get into my talk. But I think for me, most recently, no, because of the sibling relationship. I think, like, for me personally, I have a very terse relationship with my oldest sister. We get along and we're cordial to each other, but we're not tight. So it was interesting to see like that sibling dynamic be kind of, pushed to the forefront to where, they have to rely on each other when they're both two very dynamically different people, loners. There's 2 different loners in the same family. So that was a really interesting thing for me. And that piece is a very strong through line for a lot of his work.
Yeah, I have to agree. Get Out for me. Tomorrow, it's funny. Tomorrow we're going to have a discussion about how Black people tend to watch movies shouting back at the movie screen. How we do this call and response thing. And I'm usually good about not being disruptive in the movie theater, but during Get Out, during the auction scene, when I realized they were auctioning off Black folks, I yelled, "They are auctioning you off!" Like I
somewhere in the woods, he'll hear you.
Right, get out of there! Get out! Yeah, and it's that combination of a recall to the past, but this new kind of innovative way of illustrating it is what really stood out for me with Get Out, and that it really was a slave story in a sense, a plantation story. Yeah. But today, and it showed you too through social media and through, current constructs, how we can find ourselves pulled right back into this dynamic that has made America, that was the genesis of this country, right? But I say a close second for me is Us. I loved the puzzle that was Us. Yeah. That whole idea of 2 parts of yourself, the tethered. And because so much of my research is wrapped around Bill Cosby and, seeing 2 sides of a single body, this idea of Bill Cosby being one side and Cliff Huxtable being the other, Us really spoke to me in that sense of there's this tethering of this other side that, we simply don't know each other as much as we think we do because of one side that we see. But yeah, Jordan Peele's work is devastating and it's beautiful. And I'm excited to hear Mo expand more on how his work inspires her. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn things over to Moshaty as she keynotes this morning's symposium.
Yeah, just going to get up and sharing my screen here and just let me know if that is coming across. Perfect. So it's going to be a little interesting here because I got to figure out how to do it. But I thank y'all for really bearing with me on it, because this is really a fun deep dive, and anyone who knows me knows that I really like to get into the whys of film. I was lucky enough to work with Professor Dowell-Vest students. I think it was either during the pandemic or post-pandemic when we talked about the why, working from your why in scripts. And this is really no different, and exploring like Jordan's whys are really incredible to me. So first off, I just want to thank Professor Dowell-Vest and Wenhwa, Ts'ao, and everyone behind this incredible symposium at KPTU TV and University Film and Video Association. So it's an honor for me to get this ball rolling. I'm so excited about the thought-provoking deep dives that we're going to take throughout today and tomorrow into Jordan's work, and just kind of really visualizing and really kind of encompassing how film can teach us, elevate us, and emotionally terrify us. So I'm definitely happy to be along for the ride. So real quick, if I can get into next slide here. So I want to talk about what I refer to, and a couple of my friends refer to, as the Peelean way. So the Peelean way, what is it? An abstract vision of human problems interwoven with generational flaws, trauma, pain, perception, and fear. It can be said that Jordan Peele has brought Black horror into the spotlight or the forefront, but it can also be said that Peele has brought Black horror into the mainstream as simply human horror. So as we know, there's a distinct point of view of what scares people of color. What we've dealt with as a norm from our infancy to adulthood, microaggressions, sundown towns, code switching, whether or not it's forced or expected in a social setting for the comfort of others, etc. A birth to victim pipeline, so to speak. Gabrielle Below of the New York Times cited in a November 2021 article that Black horror has become America's most powerful cinematic genre, chasing that timeline through blaxploitation horror like Blackenstein to the societal nightmare of Peele's Get Out. And it's within these parameters of film that we've been able to not only stretch our boundaries, and in that same vein, enforce them. We've been the hero, the antagonist, the anarchist, but we've managed to also be prevent ourselves from playing the clown. So I'm going to take my slide back because I don't know why I did that real quick. I don't want to end you already. We're good. So we're going to go back. I'm going back. Oh, gosh. I'm really good at this, guys. I've done this a million times before. So that's where we're going to start. And then we're going to go there. Perfect. Perfect. And back. From Southern Gothic smoldering of Eve's Bayou to the take no shit stance of John Shaft, Black cinema has given us the power of authenticity, whether or not the world deems itself ready for it. So what makes Peele's horror so transcendent? My goal is to break it down into 5 pieces. The first up is string theory, how the character reacts when acted upon. Next is point of view, point of skew, how the characters explore their perception and how it turns on its ear. Family focus, generational behavior influencing the outcome, and call and response, how the protagonist and antagonist mirror each other and where the audience gets invested. And finally, my favorite, boom splat, which is the big finish, and how all the Easter eggs hidden throughout the film change our perception of the ending, causing multiple possibilities. And if done effectively, these factors have us viewing Peele's work millions of times and kind of thinking of our own work and how we can incorporate that. And because we've fallen hook, line, and sinker for all of these, there's no reason why we couldn't take a few pages out of his playbook. So I want to start up first with string theory. Let me go back. I don't know why this keeps doing this. Sorry, guys. There we go. So I want to talk about string theory, how the character reacts when acted upon. So I want to go into us first, and I'm going to be doing it out of chronological order. And if that bothers you, I promise there's a method to my madness about it. So with us, Adelaide and Red's timeline. Even in the trailer, we can tell there's something a bit off about Adelaide. Her lack of rhythm, her ennui, her unwillingness to go to the beach for vacation. She has a quiet dread about her that Gabe tries to quell. And as the film goes on, we realize that she has this apprehension of returning to this place because she knows that's the place that sparked everything. Where the film drops Adelaide in is really important because we see someone with that idyllic statistic, right? 2.2 kids, on a family vacation, a loving husband by her side, but she's so disconnected from it, you wonder if she even cares if it belongs to her, or if it's feeling like something she just should do, going through the motions. And as a child, she encounters the tethered version of herself in the funhouse. It's an opportunistic play for that tethered. Join Adelaide's life in a deemed peace instead of the chaos from underground. And she's breaking free of those recesses and impacting Adelaide's life from here on out. But new Adelaide spends her life in fear of abandonment, ostracization, and melancholy. And she's 100% performative for all of those around her. Now, Jason's reaction to his doppelganger is more inquisitive. He's no less afraid. But there's a quiet scientific interest here. And we see that interest turn to what looks like fear of Adelaide at the end of the film. Get Out. We talked a little bit about this just a few minutes ago, but where dropping in and influencing in this film is just done phenomenally well. So Rose and Chris's timeline. First of all, Rose. Okay. So Chris and Rose have only been dating for a few months, and we're already off to meet Rose's parents for some reason. Chris voices his fear of them not knowing he's Black, which to Rose tries to quell his fear about that. Again, another example of one character attempting to quiet the emotion of another character here. And she tells him that third term Obama line, which Dean Armitage repeats later strangely. And that for me was my first Rodney moment. And I will talk about Rodney moments as we get on into the presentation. But that was my first Rodney moment. So where Chris is at the beginning of this film, he's well aware of social disparity and inequities. He photographs them every day. And he knows how the world works. And current events speak to turmoil and crisis and tension. So his relationship with Rose looks like a little bit of a reprieve, a code of trust. So Rose has changed his perception of fear and mistrust to trust. Rose is down. She gets it. And she swears her parents do too. And that trust of Rose puts Chris in danger. Now, his relationship with Missy, or his interactions with Missy, who is way too invasive and confident for my taste, not as a character, it works, but what we see is a forced politeness from Chris. And I think a lot of people of color are familiar with having to be a forced polite to somebody. But Chris is not just forced polite to her. He's got to do that to the whole family, as we see in that really tense dinner scene. The uneasiness, the microaggressions, the encroachment is something people of color deal with every day on a daily basis. And we make excuses to ourselves to explain it away, not read too much into it, not let it get to us. But the interaction here in this scene with Missy, that politeness and that forced openness is in full display. A white woman is pushing his boundaries inexcusably. She's slowly hypnotizing him without his consent, one force. She's prodding him to work through his trauma, another force. She's shaming him for a choice he made as a child, a third force. And then she finally sends him to the sunken place, shutting him up. That's the final force. It's a very clear and effective way to show this woman taking away a Black man's agency. So for Nope, Emerald taking over OJ's pitch. So recently in Nope, which, like I said, the sibling dynamic is really, really cool and important to me. And I love the way it was dealt with here. But we have two very dynamic main characters, OJ and Emerald. So during OJ's pitch to the Hollywood Prodco, he's timid, he's stressed, he's tired and distracted. Another character just going through the motions, carrying on a legacy that shouldn't belong to them yet. Although tardy, OJ's sister Emerald joins the scene and takes over, and you see two vastly different energies here. She influences the crowd in a way he couldn't, so he needs her energy and her drive. But we see in flashbacks of the movie, she's had to stand out to be seen because she's constantly passed over in favor of OJ, the prodigal son. So you have a yin and a yang relationship here. But as for a character influencing other characters, I love when Angel joins Emerald and OJ here in Nope. So he's actually encroaching because he was spying, but he becomes a mediator in a sense. He's in full support of what they're doing, and putting the Haywoods back in the public eye or the spotlight could only help. But he's also a third party to say, hey, you're not crazy. This isn't crazy. Actually, best idea ever. And here's how I'm going to help you do it. He's an angel on their shoulder, basically. And this allows OJ and Emerald to really lean into the best parts of their nature. OJ's arc of skeptic turned believer helps him really look at the bigger picture, the bad miracle. And we'll get to that in a minute. And Emerald is inventive, and she takes any avenue necessary. She's got all these side hustles. She knows how to get things done. And that prompts her to contact Antlers Hoist, who takes up the devil on their shoulder. So I like that dichotomy there. So getting into the new iteration of Candyman that Peele wrote with Nia DaCosta and Win Rosenfeld, it's about Burke and Anthony. So we have Anthony already kind of having an inkling about this Candyman character and feeling odd about gentrification, but William Burke's character and his interaction with Anthony is so pivotal for this film. So Burke already deems himself personally responsible for the murder of Sherman Fields, and inadvertently the murder of his sister and her friend. Sherman's reflection is in the mirror after those murders. And now 40 odd years later, he's still in Cabrini Green, and happenstance would have Anthony run into him, who's poking around regarding lore on Candyman. And Burke tells him the summoning myth, and this sends Anthony back to try it, of course. And now Anthony is being haunted by Sherman. This sends him back to Burke, and Burke explains that Sherman is simply just one bee in the hive. And at the top of the film, Anthony's noose artwork is his claim to fame. He understands the never-ending plight of the Black man, the societal stain of it all, and the gentrification. But I feel that Burke really cemented how that generational trauma and damage imbrues not only his current work, but opens his eyes to the horror inflicted from the hands of others for centuries. It finally becomes real for him. He is a part of that history. So how can we use string theory to help our own work? So string theory, your character needs to have a starting point. It needs to be given friction or something to work against and make that character uncomfortable and make in that discomfort what they truly value clear. So next up is going to be our point of view, point askew. So that's going to be how the characters explore their perception and how it turns on its ear. So we're going to start again with us. So Kitty and Adelaide's interaction. Adelaide and her family finally make it back to the beach, and they join Kitty and Josh Tyler and their twin daughters, Becca and Lindsay. Now, Kitty is the reluctant friend, and we've all had to do it, right? We've all had to hang out with the friend that was the friend of our significant other, and we don't really like them, but we're kind of smushed together with them anyway. Everybody can relate to that. So the Kitty-Adelaide friendship is pretty relatable. But there's another piece of forced kindness and openness here. Kitty is divulging a lot, hoping that's going to open up some kind of camaraderie between her and Adelaide, who's really stoic at this beach. Obviously, we understand in hindsight that she's really nervous to be there. And Kitty looks like she has all those statistics in her favor, right? She's got attractive children, she's got a solid marriage, she's got a giant rock on her hand, etc., etc. But something is amiss. She has anything but here attitude. She explains to Adelaide about regretting her choices, about becoming a mother, and about not being an actress anymore, and really missing her past. And this gives Adelaide a chance to open up a bit. But to Professor Dowell-Vest's point earlier, it's really foreshadowing that even in the overground, we're two different people with two different trains of thought, living two different lives at all times. And Get Out. And if anybody had Rodney moments about meeting these two, and I will explain Rodney moments in a little bit, because I feel like we all kind of had them. But when Chris meets Logan, aka Andre. So Chris is really grateful to see another Black man at this tense and disorienting Armitage soiree. Chris interacts with Logan, who is stiff, strange, muzzled, complacent. And Chris's spidey senses are already up because any interaction he's had with any other Black person on the property has been odd. And Logan really disappoints him here. His mannerisms are calculated and they're off-center. Chris goes in for a fist bump and gets his hand palmed in what Logan believes should be a handshake. Another Rodney moment. Later, when Chris's camera flashes and sends Logan into hysterics, he flings himself at Chris and begs him to get out. Chris knows his suspicions are correct, and he follows through by contacting Rodney. Now, his interaction with Georgina is also very tense and creepy. And he's watched her, lose her train of thought with the iced tea and fuss with her wig. So any encounter with Georgina is going to be an odd one. She saunters into Rose's bedroom to let him know about the incident with the unplugged phone. Her speech is also metered and cold. And when Chris uses common slang like snitch and rat out, she seems really confused and says, "Oh, a tattletale," which he doesn't really respond to very well. And he confesses to her that being around too many white people makes him nervous. And her reaction to that through tears doesn't do anything to put him at ease. So everything is really off with these two from the very beginning. So in Nope, this part really, for me, is very essential, talking about two different sides of a coin. So OJ's perception of control, or the bad miracle. And it's implied that times are lean at the Haywood Ranch at the top of the film. His father's death follows. His cash deals with neighbor Jupe Park have lined its pockets just enough to survive. And then his sister returns. So it's all kind of a perfect mental storm for OJ. Add in a UFO and he's mentally in a tailspin. He believes Jupe when he says he's going to buy the horses back. He believes he can wrangle this UFO like a horse, learning its habits, its likes and dislikes, when not to startle it. And in the end, that saves him, Emerald, and Angel, but his belief is in gaining control in something greater than himself. OJ's finding his purpose. And Jupe's perception of control, on the other hand, is 100% ego. And in that, we see the flashback in the Gordy massacre. All of these people die, but he's spared by Gordy, who's offering peace, hoping Ricky isn't mad at him. A fist bump before he's destroyed. Jupe has made thousands off his trauma and his co-stars, and we see her mangled face in the stands, still being his show pony to Jupe's master. To Jupe, he could control Gordy, and Gordy wanted to please him. So if he could just give this UFO what he wants, he should be able to control that too. And the UFO really leads him in such a false sense of security so easily. And Jupe gets really overconfident in that control, and we all know what happens next. So for Candyman, this part really kind of cut me pretty deeply. And I want to talk about Brianna and her art future. Her father's suicide seems to pepper her own career. It overshadows her to an extent to where she's asked to solely elaborate on that for an art exhibit. And it really shows that not everyone feels that something traumatic that has happened to us should still feel traumatic. She's invalidated and she's undervalued. And what's damaging here is the perception of, you should understand that people are still going to want to know about your father. And they're going to want you to dredge that up. So in the art world, she only exists to tell his story. So how can we use point of view, point of skew in our own stories? So give an indication of your character's values, what they believe is true. Help them share it or make others believe, have them enforce it, and have them explore it. So I want to touch on family focus. And I'm going to speed along a little bit here. So starting with us, with Gabe and Zora. Aside from me personally believing that they're the only real members of the family, there's an innate trust between Gabe and Zora. He relies on her. They protect each other. Zora exhibits a take no prisoners attitude within the house and the Tyler's home. So Gabe kind of follows her lead. But in a strange, quick piece of dialogue between Adelaide and Zora when the tethered invade, she only tells Zora to put her shoes on. So to me, that alludes to her and Jason already being those of the underground, but also kind of alluding to her not really caring if Gabe bites it or not. So Get Out, family focus. Listen, there's a lot of dysfunction in the Armitage family. Obviously, aside from the absolutely heinous experiments, I want to start off with Dean. First meets Chris. First 5 minutes, he explains his hatred for deer and bucks. Now, the term bucks, I'm going to leave for a later time. But Missy trying to wrangle him in is really insufferable because she's infantilizing him to apologize for his behavior, like he can't be controlled. So Walter and Georgina, we now know, are the Armitage grandparents and are creepy beyond belief, but stick close to the Armitage home because, as we now know, it's theirs. But what's really interesting about these two is that this group of people and the Armitage friends want to be Black on the outside and white on the inside. But even in that, they cannot fathom being out in the world without a white person close by to keep an eye on them, which is kind of silly. The brother Jeremy goes without saying, he's an absolute menace, and he's like a cat playing with a mouse before he kills it. He tries to intimidate Chris, which everyone really passively puts a stop to. So in Nope, it's really clear that Emerald and OJ have a bit of a strained relationship. There's a deep love there, though. And there's also a quiet competition. Both have qualities that the other desires. Combined, they'd make the perfect child. And something that would make their father proud. But something that they both yearn for in different ways. But another glimpse of family dynamic we see is Jupe and April and their brood. They run a sprawling operation where Jupe is clearly the superstar, and April is the right-hand man, enabler, what have you. But what's interesting is when Jupe tells the crowd that he couldn't do any of this without her, April's mouth curls in a tight, pensive smile. So I'm curious to know what that tension is. So how can we utilize family focus in our stories? Relationships are complex. Show your characters having depth, holding grudges, working through uncomfortable issues, being bare, being relatable. Everybody goes through things. But also, if they are going to hold back, make sure you explain why or show us why. So call and response. How the protagonist and antagonist mirror and miss, and where the audience invests. This is going to be a really fun one. I like this one a lot. So in Us, when Red confronts Adelaide after breaking into her home, we're grounded in what Adelaide feared from the very beginning. Red is an absolute mirror to her, and so are the others in the home. And what we see from this point forward is Adelaide fighting to keep her life, but Red isn't trying to steal it back. She's trying to end it. It's a very Highlander, there can be only one kind of thing. In Get Out, the Armitishes are enemy from checkpoint 1. The overabundant niceties quickly fall away to disruption, disorientation, and terror. And at the party, we see that Chris has some sort of exhibition on display. Nothing good comes of that. But Chris isn't naive or dim-witted. He's really street smart. And it's always about safety and security, and he feels neither. So it's that high alert that keeps him alive. In Nope, the Crafts' decision to divide and conquer OJ and Emerald is an ingrained pack mentality. But where's the rest of the pack? And how did this thing learn how to do that? But it's in that division that they use their own arsenals in defeating this craft. They are stronger together, even though they're working apart. Now, for Candyman, I haven't touched on her yet, but Anne-Marie McCoy. I have a really challenging time kind of referring to her as an antagonist because that's the way Anthony treats her. She purposefully took him away from Cabrini Green to spare his life and create more flourishing one with hope. He sees her as untrustworthy, and when he does visit her again for the last time, he's far too gone in the Candyman world for her to ever pull him out again. So long story short, mind your mama. So to the investment or the Rodney moments, to me, the Rodney moments is, to Professor Dowell-Vest's point, the call and response. I've seen this on A&E. I saw this on True Crime Stories. Don't go in there. Don't go up to that girl's house. We are all Rodney in horror movies, and we know when people are doing something stupid, when people are doing something dangerous. It's crazy. There's a commercial where there's these people that are in a horror film and they keep making terrible choices. Let's go hide behind the chainsaws. They'll never find us there. It's us kind of calling them out when they know they're making really poor choices in the film. So I know we got crazy when we saw Rose with the keys, when we knew that the parents were up to no good, when Rodney is calling him and trying to get Rose recorded. This is all moments where we are having that Rodney piece. We knew we couldn't trust Rose from the very beginning. Rodney knew we couldn't trust Rose from the very beginning. But we needed Chris to go through that journey in order to make his value, which he started with, was understanding the societal discrepancies in the world. We needed to show him that to get back to center. So for Nope, it's seeing the shoe. It's seeing how Jupe is still really kind of trying to capitalize mentally, emotionally, and financially off of this Gordy attack. He hasn't worked through his trauma. And to him, this is him working through it, is idolizing what happened to him. He's utilizing his co-star in the most heinous and parading of ways, and it's pretty terrible. But I think for us, and it's a little dark here on the bottom, but it's the first mark of the aliens that we see in Nope, where we were just like, absolutely not, that is not happening. And it's incidentally the first time that OJ says nope in the film. So for us, when we see these folks in the driveway, that is a Rodney moment. We know that things are going to go wrong. This is not good. Lock up the house, get out of there. And what's really scary about home invasion is that if people want to get in, they're going to get in. And that's one of my most terrifying things that scares me to death. I don't like home invasion horror movies, but they work because it's an innate fear that we can all deal with. But our scary moment, our Rodney moment, is when they start to scatter from this position. And we know things are really about to go down. So for Candyman, it's really 2021's version is in the art gallery when he really starts slashing around and being the slashy Candyman that we all know and love. So if we're talking about call and response, how can we add that engagement and that Rodney moment into our stories? So give your character high stakes and go back to their values. Have them circle back, and what they were important. They have to work to go through all of these scares and things to get back to center. That's what they truly want. Will they ever get back there? That's really up to you. And that's what's really exciting and creative about it. But what's going to shake them up and make them do something adverse to get them back to their status quo? And that's how we can really incorporate a lot of engagement. So finally, my favorite to wrap it up is Boom Splat. So Boom Splat is the big finish and how all the Easter eggs that were hidden change our perception of the work as a whole, leading to multiple possibilities. So I've crushed through all three once they all came up, going through all of them and trying to find Easter eggs with other websites and things like that. And things I've really settled on is for us. So they have Jeremiah 11:11. The 11:11s aren't just 11s in total, are seen throughout this film a myriad times. So it starts off with Jeremiah 11:11, which is, therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them. I ain't going to help you. It foreshadows the uprising of the tethers later in this movie. And Jason also points out to Adelaide that the time is 11:11 when she's trying to tuck him into bed. And the tethered stand in what looks like two 11s. So the 11s are everywhere. So for scissors, the scissors and the symbolism of this movie, they need both sides to work. Together, they are one weapon. Separated, they are two. They can damage on two different levels. So that's really symbolic. And then the rabbits. To me, the rabbit seems like overpopulation. Overpopulation in the streets, in the prison system, and a blind eye to thousands that live in chaos underneath our feet, around us, and the outskirts of our peaceful lives. And also, when the rabbits are shown in cages, they are in rows of 11, which I thought was pretty interesting too. Now, in Get Out, when Andre is kidnapped, we obviously know that Rose is on the other line, and she's giving him his location. Also, it's a white car that's picking up and kidnapping a black man. And this one might be a reach, but I feel like as a Peelean lover, the reaches are like where we find our happy place. So when they have the party scene here, everyone at that party has a tinge of red on, where Chris and Andre are the only ones without. They have blue. And, you know, it could be, like I said, reachy. It could be a conservative versus Democratic view. It could be red, which is associated with sacrifice, and blue associated with freedom, meaning they're going to take or have taken their freedom and will sacrifice both themselves and these men. Also, I like to think that blue, meaning blue blood, is something admired, sought after, or epitomized. Lower left-hand corner, Rose separating the white milk from the colored cereal, kind of goes without saying here. And then funny enough, if you can see it back here, on the wall behind Chris, with his chat with Georgina, hangs a poster that says Chris is dead. So that's kind of really pointed there. For Nope, the key word is spectacle. The film opens up with, I will cast abominable filth upon thee and make thee vile. I will set thee as a gazing stock. So the key word is spectacle. Gordy's massacre is a spectacle. The standing shoe is a spectacle. Jupe's show is a spectacle. The Crafts terrorizing the Haywoods is a spectacle. The abominable filth could be the draining of its contents. The coin that killed Otis. The raining blood and objects. Are they vile for profiting off this being's existence for the Oprah shot or the ringside show? Are they themselves the spectacle? And there's a ton in Candyman that I don't have time to do, and we can talk about it later. But Boom Splat. So how do we incorporate things like Boom Splat in our own work? Peele really does all of this to foreshadow, and to reference. Jordan Peele references so many of his favorite movies and his films, and that's okay to do. That's super passionate. That's reverence. But also make sure it adds to your story, because nothing is cooler than seeing an audience get wide-eyed because they're processing in real time all the Easter eggs that you laid. So in conclusion for your own work, just to wrap up these Furious 5, drop your character into an environment where they can explore their own values. Demolition. Demolish any hope of things staying the way they are. And then detonate. Explode any reasoning. The scariest things are the most mundane, and even in that crazy idea like human experimentation or flying saucers, that character heart needs to take the lead. So it's been really, really fun chatting about all of this today. And thank you so much for having me here. It's been very exciting.
Wow.
Wow, that's a much better lecture than those standard script lecture I give to my students. The 3-point plot. Arc. I love the drop.
That was something.
Demolition. That's great.
Thanks. Yeah, Terésa knows I am a Y fanatic, so I was like, ding, 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 ding. Which is really easy to do in his films. I mean, there's so much to think about.
Yeah.
And he packs so much in to where, you do watch it and you're like, oh, I missed that. Oh, go back. Like, oh, now that makes sense. And it's like, how do I get that in my own art? How do I?
Yeah.
Right. I don't even think part of this is so instinctual for the filmmaker. I believe. I don't think he necessarily plotted it all out.
Yeah.
But he sort of came across as planned because it's well constructed, well thought out. That there's definitely plan, but I don't know if really not him. So I'm just thinking because these type of instinct also come from practice. A lot of these practice a lot of opportunity to make films, to write, then rewrite, and getting feedback to rewrite. I think these come from all these different and how artists work and the hard work the artists put into. And I don't think we are here to able to analyze all these amazing analysis, and then you thought, wow, how come I didn't think about that when I wrote my script or when I make my film? But then I thought perhaps because that it's so instinctual for the makers, for the creator, that he doesn't need to, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's so interesting because the analyzation of and like just kind of taking deep dives into everything, I could be completely wrong. And that's what's the fun part of the exploration of it, is because everything starts with a kernel of an idea, and then he really kind of pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls all these things in. And to hear him speak about, he was talking about us and like, oh, where did you get the idea for us? And he was like, I stood on a New York City platform and I swear to God, someone looked exactly like me on the other side, and I could not shake it for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the kernel of an idea. Like what else from that? And I think that when we, kind of sit there and think about the things that scare us, or the things that things that emotionally mean something to us, end up really emotionally connecting with your viewer, right? I mean,
yes,
there's a million different emotions out there, and somebody's had them at some point in time. There's a million different fears. Somebody's had them at some point in time. But I think that where he really excels at, and especially if we're talking about Black horror cinema, is that, and especially in Get Out, and I feel like Get Out was so powerful, is that forced politeness. Is that like, that was a microaggression and I'm going to ignore it. And that's kind of where, that's the fence we need to sit on sometimes societally in order to survive. And I think that those are really seldom explored pieces in other cinema. And someone could say, well, there's always like, the bully that turns into like the slasher, or the one that's bully turns into the slasher. And it's like, yes, but it's a completely different piece, it's a completely different, and it's being really dismissive to say that. So
it's not, the work comes out, so the flow is so natural and the world is so cohesive. I don't feel it's didactic. I'm not being lectured to. I'm being drawn into this world, and I believe in this world. And then after watching it, or as I watch it, you get that in the back of your head. Yes, there is a lesson, but then you don't think about that until it's thoroughly entertaining.
Yeah. And you look at that, and it's like this piece where it's like, you're not hit over the head with anything.
Right.
You're not hit over the head. It's more like, when did I get that bruise? Like, it slowly like kind of permeates around, it's just been really fun to talk about.
Yeah. Wow, you've done a fantastic job breaking down all of his work and applying theory to it. Wenhwa can also attest to this, that as professors in higher education, my students are walking in right now, and they're speaking with their full voices. As I'm trying to be discreet and saying lower your voice as we broadcast. Young, excited people. You're right. We try to infuse theory and look at art through a scholarly lens, right?
Mhm.
Mo, tell us about the string theory and how you arrived at that more. I know you have applied it in your presentation to the work of Jordan Peele, but what does it mean for you to apply scholarly theory to the work, for not only you as a lover of Jordan Peele's work, but also for you as a writer? What does it mean to apply theory and research to your work as a writer?
I think that's an excellent question, because you kind of feel guilty about doing it, because you're like, well, why don't you just enjoy it instead of like really trying to dissect it? But I think for me, where I feel that my personal work has gotten stronger, and I'm really delving more into the literary space for horror, short form horror literature. And what I've really learned from watching his films and pulling out what these Furious Five are, is that how can I make a story that resonates with me? Because it's initial to have that story up here. We know how it ends. Oh, it's a kick-ass story. It's gonna be great. How do I translate that into what's going to evoke some type of emotion in someone else? So,
Oops. Oh no, we lost her.
Did we lose her? We lost her.
We
Okay,
lost her. I think it might be a connection.
She'll come back and join us.
Yes.
But as
Oh, I
most,
love those pop-ups that we are getting from
bring her
this.
back in.
kicked out.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, you're back.
Kicked out. Sorry about that. But it's really about reverse engineering. How did his work make me feel? And what did I discover about myself through watching this?
Mhm.
And to theorize that, it's like my Rodney moments. Oh, I knew that was a bad decision. Okay, have my characters make a bad decision, and how are they going to get out of it? Have my characters really establish what their values are, and how are they going to get back to that? How am I going to challenge these characters? Don't make anything too easy for them, because then it's just, it's just a narrative piece, or it's just a monologue. I think incorporating that theory of what I've been taught by film, and especially, horror films as a whole, is the emotional level of it. Horror films are really, really political, and they're really, really emotional. And anybody who doesn't understand that is not watching enough horror movies.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, the political piece, because, one thing that strikes me about horror films, especially as we talk about Black horror films, is this idea that we can't just make horror films to be an amusement park ride, right?
Yes.
It has to mean something, right? There's this deep dive into, well, we're watching Nope or we're watching Get Out, and they must have these deep sociological, socio-political kind of tethers, and there must be an amplification of what's happening in the world. And, I know that in particular with Jordan Peele's Nope, it's been mixed reviews because people are like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. He's having his M. Night Shyamalan moment. We won't get into that just yet. Maybe later in the symposium we can talk about that. But the idea is that, we were spoiled with Get Out and with Us that had these deep social commentaries. And it's not to say that Nope didn't, but I just thought to myself, wow, this is so much fun. This movie is so much fun. Why does it have to mean something? Because I promise you.
Why can't we just be entertained?
Why can't we just be
That's
entertained?
what I say. I feel guilty not enjoying it, but you're just like, his work makes you think about stuff. It's very cerebral work. And that's where I feel like we get trapped in that elevated horror aspect, which is like literally throw that term in the trash, because all horror is palatable to a certain extent to everyone. But I think where you have that really trying to it's incredibly thought provoking. It's not, it's something that, and that's what's the fear of it, is that it follows you home.
Yeah.
His work follows you home. You saw it in the theater, you're like, damn, that is like, And how many times have we noped out of someplace? He ain't kidding. We have noped out of places that have given us discomfort. And I think that, you know, and especially and I'm really excited for the call and response panel, because obviously, you know, we sit there and think about Regina Hall's character from Scary Movie, where she's like, "Don't come out there!"
They nailed that. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Because it's like, and it makes me think, and I could be, like I said, I'm a Richie today, but it could be that, and this is a theory that I could not, God forgive me, I cannot remember who I heard this from, but it was actually about how, and I talked to this in a symposium a couple of weeks ago. James Baldwin had made a statement that white people don't know what real terror is, or real horror is.
Where my triangle at?
And that's why, you know, there's thrill seekers out there. There's extreme sports. There's like seeking out the fear and the horror of danger for that type of thing. When you have this society of people of color that deal with danger and fear and apprehension and anxiety all the time, it's a really, really interesting, just kind of harken back to Jordan's work and why it's so important.
I adore you. I
adore you too.
I'm so thankful that you gave us time and space today. We're not closing just yet, because I want to showcase Mo's short film, Gemini. I want us to see this work that she's creating as well. And then I'm going to put out to you all who are watching. Before I share that screen, let me take that out for a second. I want everyone watching to think about your favorite Jordan Peele film, or even your favorite horror film. And I want us to take the next 48 hours to celebrate the work that makes us kind of shiver and quiver and stay up at night. Let me tell you something. Candyman, when 1992, the original one with Tony Todd, I remember seeing a midnight showing of that film in Harrisonburg, Virginia. And in February, it was cold. It's cold in February in the mountains of Virginia. And at 2 a.m, when that film let out, I was so frightened that I drove home with all 4 of my windows down. It might have been like 20 degrees outside, but I didn't care, because if I saw something in my window, in my mirror, my rearview mirror, driving home, I was jumping out the first window. I was going to tuck and roll, whatever it needed to do. I backed out of every bathroom, because I was like, it just went right under the core of me. And then the remake, I won't talk about parts 2, 3, or whatever. I want to jump forward to the Candyman that came out, that came out under Monkeypaw. That reignited the excitement of that particular storytelling and gave it a depth that was just beautiful and heartbreaking, and just a testament of how our history can give way to beautiful storytelling, even in the horror genre. So that said, to the audience, I want you to think about your favorite Jordan Peele movie, and you're able to follow us all throughout the next 2 days, watch all of the content of this virtual symposium, see all of the flyers for all of the speakers and the panelists that are going to present over the next 2 days. We're going to continue to ask this question of what's your favorite Jordan Peele movie. I'm going to quickly flash an image of my students sitting in the studio where we're going to be broadcasting. They're like, is that us? Yes, that is y'all. My students, they're going to help with the next couple of days too. We had to open here in the booth because it's early and it's homecoming week here at Prairie View, and the students are like, we partied last night, TDV. I can't get there early to help you out. I was like, that's fine. Let me flash back to him. Hold on a second. Am I telling the truth? Am I telling the truth? Y'all were out partying. It took you a while to get here.
Just like, no. Aw. Good kids.
They look really comfortable. They don't look like they're working.
So we're going to broadcast in that space also over the next couple of days. In fact, at 12 noon today, our next session will also be from that space. We have a few more comments. We want to make sure that everyone lets us know what they're thinking, what they're feeling. If you put your comments on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, we can share with the world your questions, your concerns, your confessions about how you feel about Jordan Peele's work. Certainly feedback on the presentations that you see. We've got such amazing feedback from Mo as she gave her presentation, many applauses, and certainly much love for the work that you do. Sister, I'm going to bring up Gemini now.
This is the world premiere of Gemini, by the way.
Huh?
This is the premiere of Gemini, by the way.
What? The University Film and Video Association, along with Fairview A&M University, ladies and gentlemen, presents the premiere of Gemini. How outstanding is that? And you know that's my zodiac too.
I
know. She's my best friend, y'all. She didn't know until just now. We're best friends. All right, so I'm going to bring this up.
Hope you like it, folks.
Say to set up the film before we get started.
Yeah, actually, this is a proof of concept for a feature film that I've written regarding. And it's pretty heavy material. It's really speaking to the aftermath of suicide or suicide attempt, and how that feeling kind of lingers and manifests as something completely different. And I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you, love. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, we're going to get into Gemini.
A harrowing ordeal in Allegheny County tonight as the rescue of a woman found floating in Canoga Lake. A young woman is alive tonight due to the brave men and women of Allegheny Search and Rescue. The life of children's author Mae Martin hangs in the balance tonight. Rescued from Canoga Lake in the early hours of Friday morning, Martin is currently in critical condition. Authorities have ruled out any accidental drowning.
It's faster than typing. Patient is suffering from delusions of grandeur. Patient was detained after neighbors called the police after they witnessed screaming for several hours in her home. Police intercepted and found home empty. Awaiting tox results.
Eric asked for his ring back after 5 years. He proposed to me right at the lake. Took it back right at the lake. How romantic. So I did the next best thing. I took the red we were saving for our wedding night and celebrated by myself. And decided to take a header right into the lake. 64 seconds. They said I was dead 64 seconds. But something came back with me. I'm not quite sure if I came all the way back in when they revived me, because something is still out there. She's still out there. You know how I know? It's because she is all around me. All the time. She stands and watches me sleep. She crawls on top of me. You know, they say that near-death experiences, you're never the same. You're not whole. And I believe them because that other piece is out there. And I think she wants me back. She wants all of me. And she waits. Just waits. All the time. And you know what? You know what? Sometimes I want her to take me back. But I don't go. I don't.
The great service you have done with this film, the great service you have done with this film, sister. First of all, I mean, my God.
Thank you.
I have chills. I have chills. Tell us about the making. Oh, let me turn it off. Tell us about the making of Gemini.
Well, it was actually, we started filming, which was really stupid, at the lake in March, at our local lake in March, where there was still snow. And I did get in the water and I did get out of the water, hence why I'm wet. But I really feel like, and like a complete transparency, it's very autobiographical. There was a time in my life where I was very suicidal and depressed. And I think that once you have that type of low, it's a constant work in progress every day to kind of really, pull yourself out of that and not let it manifest as something that particularly tries to haunt you. And that's really what I was trying to do with the other half, is like that other half is that question. What is worth living? Like, what are my wants that are keeping me here? It's just that manifestation of those questions that really orbit you when you're in that space. And, like she says at the end of the film, is that every day I want to go back, but I don't. So it's really just trying to touch on how horrific that mind space is and how terrifying it is to have to live with that thought come in when you're trying to sleep, when you're just hanging out, when you're in your car. It's just really was really easy for me to really conceptualize that, because it was also really cathartic for me to really put that into translation into film.
Yeah, it's haunting. It's that experience, the haunting of that experience. It's definitely in this proof of concept. I get really chills when you finally reveal the eyes. And have to live that with that experience constantly, and the thoughts of it. It's what's creating that chills and horror of not wanting, and then at the same time and that makes sense with Gemini. Sort of that click in at that moment. Okay, that's why the title.
Yeah. And again, really we're two people all the time.
Yes. The duality of us.
It's interesting because I don't know if this happens to you at all, but on occasion people may ask, "Oh, how's it going? How are you doing?" And then they see your but they see your life from this outside sort of exterior perspective, and if you say anything other than fine or great, you're looked at with this sort of judgment of how is it possible that you're depressed or you feel some kind of way about something when your life seems so great. And it's like, what I loved about your storytelling with Gemini is it's always there. it's always there that the face you put on isn't necessarily the face you live with.
Yep.
And to call for help, to reach out to people can be as daunting as it is to just kind of push
100%.
through, right?
Yeah.
None of that's easy. And so I truly appreciate the work that you've given us, and love that, you share the resource of, if you are feeling this, if you need help, reach out and find someone who, and that's what the arts is really about, the humanities, right? It's why the arts are part of what we call the humanities, and horror films are part of that collective as well. It gives us some sort of insight on who we are and who we can be. And sometimes a horror movie is real life.
Yeah.
And when we amplify real life, we have to look at it and go, wow, that's indeed something that could keep me up at night. How do I move forward and help that person be in the world with these people? Ooh, child. Mo, Wenhwa, y'all, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Wenhwa. So great to that.
We're just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. We are just getting started. This is opening the Nightmares from Monkeypaw Virtual Symposium. Again, we are amplifying the work of Mr. Jordan Peele, who is a great funny guy and a comedian, and have for so long been known for his comedic work, and then hit us with Get Out in 2017, and we have not looked back. And so with this next 48 hours, the next 2 days, we're going to celebrate work of a mastermind and celebrate Black horror films and the Black horror genre, and the ways they show up in the real world, the way it shows up in the movie theaters, and certainly the way it shows up for you. I just want to close with a couple last minute hoo-has and hoorays from viewers who are watching. And again, if you are watching, go to our YouTube, or to our YouTube channel, go to a variety of different YouTube channels that are broadcasting this right now. But we definitely want you to go to kpvutv.org, where you can kind of get to everything from one location. And more will be added to the website today as the day goes on. But I do hope that you enjoy yourself this morning. At 12 noon, we have our next session beginning. Get Out, the birth of a new direction in horror. We will hear from Dr. Fred A. Bonner II. He's a faculty member. He's an endowed chair. He's a newly endowed chair of the Education Leadership Program here at Prairie View A&M University. He will present the Get Out, the disembowelment of Black faculty and staff, practitioners and scholars, identity in predominantly white institutions. We touched on that a little bit with our opening today, and so this is going to be a great segue into that. And then we also have Dr. Heather Addison from the University of Las Vegas at Nevada. No, University of Nevada at Las Vegas. UNLV. There we go. I said it backwards. University of Nevada at Las Vegas. Dr. Addison is also a board member with the University Film and Video Association, and she's going to present her research, The Sunken Place, Possession and Paranoia in Get Out. I had the great fortune of seeing her give this talk at the national conference in July. And when I tell you, it's fantastic. So you definitely want to join us at 12 noon in about a half hour. It's long enough for me to go get something to eat and maybe hop to the stage in here and bring us up here at KPVU TV studios on the campus of Prairie View A&M University. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna close out, and I'm gonna see you in about a half hour. Okay, bye.